Good evening. I'm Dr. Fred Rouse, the Real Money Doctor, and it's currently just about 7 o'clock on Tuesday. Where are we at here? The 4th of August. And I want to touch base on today's events that affect the way you get, protect, and enjoy your money, your life, and your retirement. Now, the thought for today is Semper Paratus, 230 years old today. And I'll get to that in just a few minutes. Only a few people are going to know what that's all about. But that's okay. We'll get there. We start the day as we've been starting since I guess I started doing these things back in March with the current COVID cases, because again, that's the single biggest thing that's affecting the world at this point in time, not the current COVID cases in the US, but the COVID situation is affecting the world. And without a doubt, the US more than anybody else, because we're the one country in the world that has it the least under control. So right now, the current COVID cases are 4,751,000 cases in the U.S. That's up 53.6 thousand cases since yesterday. Total number of cases that have recovered is basically, again, stays around 30%. And of all the people that have gotten COVID, basically 3% have actually died from it. So this is not a 0.01% or any of that other nonsense. 3% of the people who were diagnosed with COVID actually died. Right now, the death count in the U.S. is 156,301 people have died from COVID since this got started back in January. Now, California has taken a #1 spot for 2, maybe 3 weeks right now. They've got 521,000 cases. That's 8,000 more cases overnight from when I was here yesterday. Now, their deaths right now are at 9,508. So they had an extra 108 people die overnight. Florida's got the #2 spot. They're not having a good time at all. Okay. Texas got the #3 spot. New York's at #4. Georgia's at #5. Illinois has moved up this week to #6. New Jersey's at #7, but they're having some problems right now. Arizona's at #8. North Carolina is at #9. Louisiana moved up this week to #10. Now, coronavirus is surging without a doubt in the world in several Midwestern states that had previously not seen high infection rates. While the average death rates remained elevated on Monday in southern and western states, they hit a resurgence, okay, after they lifted a number of restrictions earlier this summer. Now, Missouri, Montana, and Oklahoma, okay, are among those witnessing the largest, okay, percentage surge of infections over the last week. While adjusted for the population, the number of new cases in Florida, Mississippi, and Alabama still outpaced other states. Experts also see worrying trends among, Mid-East Coast areas, okay, and Midwest cities, as they anticipate major outbreaks in college towns as classes resume sometime during August here. University of Texas at Austin notified students that parties are prohibited when the campus reopens in just basically 3 weeks. The school cited city health guidelines prohibiting groups of people larger more than 10, okay, requiring a mask out in public. President Trump continued to push his thing that reopened the schools, even as some of the nation's largest districts are delaying in-person instruction amid coronavirus spread of the virus. And the school that he sends his own son to, his private school, then held many in-person classes for a while. During a White House news conference, he said, ideally, we want to open those schools. We want them to open. That's what he said. What a surprise. Okay. Now, despite the fact, okay, he's still doing that, even though in Gwinnett, Georgia, okay, a county in Georgia, where some parents, okay, must have been serious fans of him, were having protests in favor of opening in-person classes. Okay. When in that county, you got a bunch of parents protesting they wanted their schools open, even though at least 260 school district employees tested positive for the virus and or were in contact with someone who actually was infected. This is making no sense. What a surprise. Okay. On the money side of things, okay, the economic fallout from the virus really continues to widen. The parent company of Men's Warehouse declaring bankruptcy as people have just stayed away from the offices and the suits and other business attire that they once needed for work. They're not buying right now. Tailored Brands, which also owns Joseph A. Banks, K&G, and Moore's, filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy protection on Sunday evening. Okay, same day, department store chain Lord & Taylor also filed for bankruptcy protection. They're among about a dozen or so retailers that have just tipped into bankruptcy as the pandemic fueled more and more store closures and sent sales actually plummeting. Now, top officials across Disney, Microsoft, MasterCard, and IBM were among more than 100 business leaders who called on Congress to provide emergency relief for small businesses facing economic calamity. In a letter sent to congressional leaders of both parties on Monday, the executive issued a dire warning of mass closures triggered by coronavirus as companies report declining revenues, and face the prospect of shutting down yet once again to contain the outbreak. Now, more than 4 million businesses have received emergency loans from the Small Business Administration, with Congress approving $700 billion in funding to support them. But for the 300 million small businesses in the country, that funding was just too limited and too short-lived, and that's according to business leaders. The letter calls for more robust, sustained effort from the federal government. They went on to say in the letter, "We cannot stress enough the urgent need to act. Every day that passes without a comprehensive recovery program makes recovery more difficult." And this is from 100 business leaders. Okay, these are not mom and pops. These are big Fortune 500 type companies, that see the need to get small businesses back on track. Again, we're a consumer-driven economy, folks. If the consumers are not out there spending, everything goes down. I don't care if the stock market's going up right now. That's great. Tons of small businesses are going under. Tons of them. Now, business leaders predict another wave of permanent business closures by Labor Day if the government doesn't provide some serious aid. Now, a lot of people continue to discount the number of cases reported and the number of deaths as being, overinflated for various reasons. But in order to do that, that would mean there would need to be a massive nationwide conspiracy with just about every doctor and every hospital here in the U.S. having to change the testing results and to change the death certificates of everyone being reported right now. Now, even if that totally improbable thing actually occurred, the chances of it are so infinitesimal it's ridiculous. But even if it occurred, what can they say about the obituaries written by the families of those who have died? Now, much of David Nagy's obituary, which ran in his local paper in Jefferson, Texas, on July 30th, recounted his painful death from COVID at age 79 and named his surviving family members. That's what you would normally expect out of an obituary. However, that midway down, the tone shifted to a more pointed message for President Trump and Texas Governor Greg Abbott. Something you don't expect to see in somebody's obituary. And they said, and I quote, "Family members believe David's death was needless," according to his wife. They blame his death and the deaths of all the other innocent people on Trump, Abbott, and all the politicians who did not take this pandemic seriously and were more concerned with their popularity and votes than lives, end quote. Now, Stacy, his wife, also went on to scold people who don't wear masks, describing them in the obituary as ignorant, self-centered, and selfish people who ignore medical professionals and instead believe that their right not to wear a mask was more important than killing innocent people, end quote. Now, as the coronavirus keeps climbing, the cases keep going up. The states have been slow to implement mask orders, and Nagy understands that. And she felt compelled to use her husband's final message to push for a change. Now, the obituary actually went viral. Pictures of the obituary, which isn't online, have been shared by tens of thousands of times on Facebook and Twitter. You might have seen it. Somebody actually took a camera, took a shot of it, and posted the picture of the obituary. Okay. Obituaries, however, with political messages have been on the rise during this pandemic from all over the place. In July, the daughter of a man who died of COVID-19 wrote a blistering obituary in Arizona's Republic, okay, stating that her father's death was due to the carelessness of politicians who continue to jeopardize the health of brown-bodied people. In an interview, the daughter accused Arizona Governor Doug Ducey of having blood on his hands. Another obituary in the Citizen Times of Asheville, North Carolina, for Sandra Schuler Thomas, actually, in July, encouraged mourners to use her death as a motivation to vote in the coming presidential election. Quote, in lieu of flowers, I think Mrs. Thomas, while casting your vote, think of Mrs. Thomas while casting your vote to remove President Trump from office, end quote, is what it said. These are strange things, strange times now, that people in obituaries are reaching out and letting you know. Now, this is the same thing that goes on constantly. There is still a group of people that don't believe anything except what Donald Trump says. They're certainly entitled to do that. I have no problems with that. If you love the guy, that's great. Have him over to dinner, vote for him, whatever you want to do. However, okay, the U.S. right now is in a world of hurt. Okay, we have more cases than anybody else in the world right now. We have more deaths than anyone else in the world right now per 100,000 of the population. Okay, everybody else in the world has got their coronavirus situation pretty much under control. The U.S.'s numbers are going off the wall. Okay, these are things to consider. It's not that difficult to understand. The sun comes up in the east and it sets in the west. Now, if the president wants to tell you something different and you want to believe it, that's okay. But trust me, when the sun goes down, it's dark outside. And right now, the sun is going down in this country. People are looking at us and they're wondering, what the hell happened to the U.S.? Once the leaders in the world. And people are laughing at us with real good reason. We're not allowed in their countries right now. They can't trust the U.S. because our COVID situation is nowhere near under control. But so much for that. Let me get to today's thought. Okay, Semper Paratus, 230 years old today. Now, Semper Paratus is actually Latin for always ready. And you already know that the middle of summer is here. Okay, along with the 90-degree temperatures and the hurricane season, which was nice enough to grace us today as it worked its way up the coast, and I lost power a few times. Other people are still losing powers up in New York at this point in time, maybe up in New England. At 7 o'clock, it's probably New England right now. It was a fast-moving thing today, but it affected a lot of people, a lot of water all over the place. And the same thing has been happening every year since 1790, when the Revenue Marine was formed by the then President Alexander Hamilton on this date, August 4th, in 1790. And no, they didn't have airports then. Again, I don't care what the president had to say. They didn't have any airports then, and nobody took the airports over and secured those airports. Now, over the years, the Revenue Marine morphed into the Revenue Cutter Service. Years later, the U.S. Life Saving Service was then added back in January of 2018, January 28th, 1915. And at that point in time, the modern Coast Guard was actually formed. The Lighthouse Service was added back in 1939. So, happy 230th birthday to the United States Coast Guard. Now, the U.S. Coast Guard is the smallest and generally overlooked and forgotten of the 5 branches of the armed services. Most people don't even think that they're, they understand the Coast Guard exists, but they don't understand they're actually part of the military. Now, the Coast Guard has been involved in wars as diverse as the War of 1812, the Mexican-American War, the American Civil War, in which the cutter Harriet Lane fired her first naval shots attempting to relieve the besieged Fort Sumter. They were active participants in both world wars, the Vietnam War and the Persian Gulf War. They're the only branch of the military to have an active duty, active peacetime mission in the U.S. in law enforcement, aids and navigation, and search and rescue. They pride themselves in trying to figure out how to get it done. They're called on for many tasks and were busy with operations in and after Hurricanes Katrina and Sandy. Now, I was privileged to have served in the Coast Guard running small boats for search and rescue missions from 1971 through 1976. Okay, these are really formative years for me. Their motto, Semper Paratus, always ready, has stayed with me and really guided a major portion of my life. And it's never really left me. And I'm glad for that. Okay, it's put me in a position and the mindset to be able to help others in various situations, and more importantly, how to plan and take action to completely avoid bad situations. A lot of what you do, at least in the Coast Guard, okay, was very, very safety oriented. Very safety oriented. So anytime I see anything with a military accent, somebody really screwed up badly. There are tons of things in place to prevent those things from happening. Now, if you're 50 plus, many things have already happened in your life. It's just the nature of the beast. There's also a better than average chance that things didn't always go for you as you planned. If your retirement savings plan fell into this category, as it did for most people, okay, it's really not too late. You may be searching for a way to rescue your own retirement at this point in time. You don't have a lot of time to try and run down all the possibilities to see what may or may not work in your specific situation. And I understand that. Okay. Now, I've got some experience in search and rescue and savings people's retirements. I can show you how to be Semper Paratus or always ready. I'm Dr. Fred Rouse, the Real Money Doctor. My only goal is to help you to get, protect, and enjoy your money, your life, and your retirement when you're ready for a simple, repeatable system designed specifically for people that are 50 and older, so you can rescue your retirement and never have to worry about working again. Go to my site, drrousenow.com. Watch the video there. See if I can help you get the ultimate secure retirement that you've always dreamed of, and get it in the next 3 to 5 years. For now, I appreciate spending some time with you and you spending some time with me. I look forward to seeing you guys tomorrow around 7 o'clock. Thank you.